So a little bit of background. Dungeoneer's pack, Josh, friend of the show, and he has a great channel with some great videos on himself. He talks about subclasses and the more, how would I put this, the less mechanical and the more narrative focused side of designing a subclass or designing a character. He has some great character builds. My personal favourite's the chef, so you should check that out. But he's made this thing. It's up on Patreon for free. It's down in the link, down in the description. So if you want to click the link and check it out yourself, then I highly recommend it. The fighter subclass Shadowguard. Trained in the arts of the Dark Realms, these elite warriors learn to manipulate and wield shadows to complement their martial prowess. If anyone's played Dark Souls, Dark Wraiths, I think, you encounter them later in the game, but it's got that like tall, dark, big sword, big shield, like it can really take on some combat. Let's check out the level 3 ability and see how it stacks up. At 3rd level, you have dark vision within range of 120 feet and you gain proficiency with the stealth skill. You can also snuff out a candle, a torch or a small campfire within 15 feet of you. The obvious comparison is to say this would work well if you multi-class it with Rogue. Natural stealth proficiency and dark vision is always helpful. Of course, this is available to some classes already or some races. So 120 feet is a good option. And yeah, I think that starting out, the essential thing is you gain stealth skill. Shadow's Grasp, another 3rd level ability. When you choose the archetype at 3rd level, you're able to use your connection to the Dark Realms to harness its power to hinder your enemy's movement. At the start of your turn, you may expend a use of your Shadow's Grasp. Until your next turn, the next time you would hit a creature with a weapon attack, the creature takes an additional 1d8 psychic damage. Not very resisted in lower levels, so this is very nice for a 3rd level. Must make a strength saving throw against your Shadow's Grasp DC. So this is tied to your Constitution. A lot of subclasses for fighter, they tie it to strength, dexterity maybe, intelligence for the Eldritch Knight, but tying it to Constitution is a unique way to do it. I like this idea. See how it could work out. So on a failed save, they are grappled. Successful, the target is not grappled. You have 4 uses of the Shadow's Grasp and you regain all uses after a short or a long rest. The fact you've got 4 uses every short rest means that you're going to be spamming this every round of combat if possible. In summary, at level 3, you've got stealth, dark vision, you can sneak up to people, you can attack and grapple them essentially in the same turn. So this can be really interfering with one-on-one single combat. Of course, against a group of goblins it might be less powerful, but if you're fighting a wizard by themselves, or a version of the big bad evil guy that's just a singular being, then yeah, the grapples could be quite powerful. Level 7, you get Shadow Mantle. As a bonus action, a creature you can see within 30 feet of you becomes enveloped in darkness. Until the start of your next turn, the creature receives the following benefits. Gains resistance to BPS, so we're getting some barbarian flavor. I think this is balanced for level 7. It's not over the top. If it was level 3, I would say it's a little bit too powerful, but level 7 is a good way to introduce this because a lot of creatures, if they're not using natural damage, then they'll be using magical weapons. So it has niche uses, but it does have uses. The mantle drowns the light around the creature, causing them to become heavily obscured to others. Shadows turn dim light within 10 feet into darkness, and the bright light in the same area to dim light. So you're snuffing out light, you have the stealth skill, and you have dark vision, and resistance to BPS. So you can sneak in under the stealth darkness of night, and grapple someone, attack them, and yeah, this can cause a lot of trouble for people actually. This is getting more and more sinister as we go on. Wholly appropriate for the subclass. For Shadow Mantle, the creature can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. Take 1d6 force damage if they end up inside an object, if they end the turn inside an object. Or push to the nearest unoccupied square 5 feet from them. Okay. So yeah, darkness, grappling, stealth, resistance, and you can pretty much shadow step through things. Yeah. You can see this, what's the word I'm looking for? Snowballing in power. Josh is in the chat there. The intention behind Shadow Mantle is to be a flexible defensive ability for yourself or an ally. When you're making an ally a beacon for Shadow Walker. So yeah, if you cast this on someone else, you can essentially lock them in to some safety, get in there and assist them. So as a secondary attacker, as like a support attacker, this could totally mess with someone's plans. With the darkness, is it magical darkness? Does it count as magical? I don't know if you're still in the chat, Josh, but I'd love to get a quick definition of it. Oh, while we're waiting for that, let's move on to level 10, Shadow Walker. 10th level, you gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. As a bonus action, when you're in dim light or darkness, in place of your movement for the turn, you can teleport the number of feet equal to your walking speed to an unoccupied space you can see, also dim light or darkness. So very similar to the level 6 Shadow Monk ability. And I love that. It's so much fun. Actually, there is a little bit of similarity to the Echo Knight's abilities. Just thinking there. It's different, but similarities. So the darkness is not considered magical. Good old-fashioned darkness. Well, I think we all can believe in a thing called love. So, finally, let's check out the level 15 one with darkness. At level 15, you become attuned to the forces of darkness, furthering enhancing your senses and abilities. You can perceive through magical darkness with your vision. You have an advantage on stealth checks, hidden dim light and darkness, combined with being proficient in the stealth ability already. Yeah, you're gonna not be seen. If you don't want to be seen, people are just not gonna see you. But it is different to being invisible because you can sneak in and stealth around, but with darkness, if it's full of darkness, the room's pitch black, then you know something's wrong. It's not as stealthy as I first thought. It does have stealth, just not rogue level stealth. This is the big kicker, level 15 power boost. When Shadow Mantle is active, a creature is resistant to all damage except radiant and psychic. Star Trek Zach, you make a great point there. Should work well with Gloomstalkers. Well, Rangers in general, actually. Are you talking about multi-classing it, or just having a Gloomstalker on your team as well? There's a lot of potential here. Yeah, it's got the gears turning in my head. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to use this, and as a DM, I'm thinking what's the best way to let the player use the abilities as much as possible. Here's the best part about it. It's free, and it's on this Patreon now, so what are you waiting for? Go and download it. Link in the description. And if you're watching this back, it should be in the pinned comment as well. So, Josh, it was fantastic. Great subclass. It's very dark themed. I can see a lot of character... how am I putting this? Narrative out of it. And it's worth noting, it's not just about being a player character as well. I think this would make a fantastic villain, NPC, bad guy. That's the problem with multi-classing, is you kind of diluting the strengths of both classes. So the utility's there, but you'll lose... There is definitely a trade-off. You're losing some things, and you're out of sync with the rest of the team leveling up with their powers and abilities. For a fighter, it's not too bad, but for more caster classes, wizard, sorcerer, then you're losing out on spell slots, you're losing out on leveled spells. So I think fighter and warlock, and I would say artificer are the three classes I would recommend subclassing into. They're the most flexible. And Twilight Cleric as well. Yeah, I think Twilight Cleric, the broad consensus is it's completely busted. Well, so we've got this for a fighter, Twilight Cleric, Shadow Monk, Gloomstalker Ranger. That really feels like you've got a good, solid 4-person team there. If you had like a special ops, like sneaky shadow themed campaign, then yeah, that could totally work. If you get a more martial themed campaign and less of a magic themed campaign, this could be a real contender.